Imagine yourself as a parent from an old money Swiss family, visiting your little ones at the prestigious Liebefeld-Steinhölzli school in Bern. As you approach the schoolyard, you see your child laughing and playing basketball with a boy who introduces himself as Pak Un. Strikingly, you notice that this Pak Un is particularly enthusiastic about the sport, emulating the moves of his favorite NBA star, Michael Jordan, on the court alongside your child. Pak Un is polite, though noticeably reserved, and he claims to be the son of an employee at the North Korean embassy in Bern, a story that doesn't raise eyebrows in the cosmopolitan environment of the school, where many children of diplomats and international professionals are enrolled. In the classroom, however, his performance is unremarkable. He seems more interested in sports and video games than in his studies, excelling only in music and technical subjects, and his poor attendance and low grades in other areas are noted by the teachers, but not heavily scrutinized. Furthermore, the boy's staff, ostensibly relatives and embassy staff, always shadows him, ensuring his safety. These adults surrounding young Pak Un, who maintain a discreet but constant presence, arouse curiosity among you and other parents, but are generally dismissed as part of the peculiarities of diplomatic life. Our dear viewer, if you were indeed one of these old money parents at that Swiss school, it is likely that years later, as you read the headlines, you would be stunned to learn that Pak Un was in fact Kim Jong Un, the future supreme leader of North Korea. Shockingly, the quiet, somewhat aloof boy your child once played basketball with was living a life shrouded in secrecy, preparing for a role that would place him at the helm of one of the world's most repressive regimes. In today's episode, we'll share how North Korea's ruling family came to power, from their first quiet beginnings as Christian missionaries under Japanese colonial rule to atheist authoritarian dictators, as we describe the full saga of the Kims, the family that controls North Korea. Kim Jong-un's grip on power in 2024 is as tight as a vice, solidifying his position as the uncontested ruler of North Korea. And since seizing control after his father Kim Jong-il's death in December 2011, Kim has systematically reinforced his authority with the ruthlessness of a seasoned autocrat. Born in the early 1980s, Kim spent his formative years in Switzerland, attending the International School of Bern under a pseudonym. This Swiss stint exposed him to Western values like personal freedom and democracy, but instead of sparking reformist tendencies, his time abroad only deepened his resolve to preserve and expand the regime's unbridled control. And while critics initially doubted young Kim's ability to lead, he swiftly quashed those doubts by displaying a chilling efficiency in consolidating power. Over the years, he has executed high-profile purges, eliminating potential rivals and dissenters with a swiftness that leaves no room for challenge. Furthermore, Kim Jong-un's seemingly endless control is exemplified in his lavish lifestyle, a glaring discrepancy against the backdrop of widespread poverty in North Korea. He owns several luxurious residences, including the Ryongseong Residence, or Residence Number 55, in Pyongyang's Ryongseong district. Completed in 1983, this sprawling complex features an underground wartime headquarters, numerous military units for protection, and a private underground train station. It boasts extravagant amenities like banquet halls, a massive swimming pool with a water slide, a running track, a spa, horse stables, and a shooting range. Another notable property in the Jong Un portfolio is the Ryokpo Palace on the outskirts of Pyongyang. Recent satellite images revealed several buildings at this palace were demolished, possibly to modernize the complex or repurpose it for military use. Clearly, Kim's penchant for luxury is matched only by his desire for fortified security. Additionally, Kim's collection of private jets and luxury vehicles underscores his opulent tastes amidst a nation grappling with severe deprivation. His primary aircraft is a modified Cold War-era Ilyushin IL-62, known as Chame-1, and this Soviet-era jet, once the largest in the world, has been extensively renovated to suit Kim's ostentatious preferences. The interior features plush white leather chairs, rosewood tables, and crystal ashtrays, creating a VIP setup rivaling the US Air Force One. Kim also has a passion for aviation, building small runways near his family compounds and even piloting planes himself, though his flying qualifications remain a mystery. Yet, Kim's fleet of luxury cars is equally extravagant. He's often seen in high-end foreign cars, including Mercedes Maybach Pullman Guard armored limousines and Cadillac SUVs. And beyond his jets and cars, Kim Jong Un boasts an extensive collection of superyachts, including the Princess 95NY, a luxurious motor yacht valued at approximately $7 million US. This yacht, from Princess Yachts under the LVMH umbrella, is stationed off Kim's Wonsan Resort, and it features an expansive flybridge deck, generous staterooms, and a full-width saloon and dining area, accommodating up to 10 people in elegant style. Despite sanctions, Kim has managed to acquire and maintain this vessel, often seen traveling between his beachside mansion and a secluded island. In addition to the Princess 95MEs, Kim owns a 260-foot luxury yacht described as a floating amusement park with a double water slide, an Olympic-sized pool, and a multi-story lounge. Furthermore, Kim Jong-un's recreational assets include the Pyongyang Golf Course, dubbed the world's most exclusive by North Korean state media. This golf course gained legendary status when Kim's father, Kim Jong-il, supposedly hit 11 holes in one during his first game there in 1994. While golf isn't popular in North Korea, the course has recently opened to foreign amateurs as part of a diplomatic initiative to foster friendships through sport. The course features attractions like an underwater golf course, an archery ground, and a boating area, offering a unique and luxurious experience for visitors. However, how did this third-generation dictator come to keep power over one of the most well-known countries in the world living under authoritarian rule? To get our answer, we'll have to start at the beginning, with the origins of the Kim family. So, let's flip over to the next chapter. The Kim family's ascent in North Korea is tied to Japan's imperial aims in the early 20th century. You see, Japan viewed the Korean peninsula's strategic location as vital for its military and economic pursuits, and was attracted by Korea's natural resources and agricultural potential to support its industrialization. This subsequently led to the Japan-Korea Treaty of 1910, which integrated Korea into the Japanese Empire. And under Japanese dominion, Korea underwent severe social and political disruption. Japanese authorities enforced rigorous controls, stifling Korean culture and language while exploiting its resources, a suppression that fueled resentment and resistance among Koreans, including Kim Hyong-jik, the first known patriarch of the Kim family, whose experiences under Japanese rule profoundly shaped his desire for Korean independence. Now, the surname Kim itself is widespread in Korea, with origins stretching back over a millennium, symbolizing gold. Many Kims have historically claimed descent from royalty or nobility, and the Kim family we're discussing today, reportedly from the Jeonju Kim clan, originated from Jeonju in North Jeolla province. This clan, claiming lineage from the Goryeo dynasty's royal family, is one of Korea's most prominent and historic clans, and Kim Hyong-jik's great-grandfather, Kim Ung-woo, settled in Pyongyang's Mangyongdae neighborhood in 1860, establishing a foundation for the family's future influence in the region. To give a little more context to the Kim family of North Korea's backstory, during this era, the Christian denomination of Methodism reached Korea through American missionaries like Henry Appenzeller and Horace Underwood in the 1880s, and they aimed to spread Christianity while providing education and medical services, which Korean authorities permitted, recognizing the benefits for the country's modernization. The missionaries established schools, hospitals, and churches, becoming pivotal in education and social services. The Kim family patriarch, Kim Hyong-jik, was thus educated at a school founded by these Protestant missionaries, gaining exposure to Christian teachings and Western education. And although Japanese authorities typically limited access to such education to curb Western influence, the education and values imparted by these missionaries deeply influenced Kim, who embraced Methodism. This religion provided a platform for cultural resistance and a modern education, resonating with many Koreans' aspirations during Japanese rule. Kim Hyung-jik then married one Kang Pan-sok at the age of 15, in line with traditional Korean customs. Kang, 2 years his senior, bore their first child, future dictator Kim Il-sung, when Kim Hyung-jik was 17. Additionally, Kim Il-sung had 2 younger brothers, Kim Chul-ju, who perished fighting the Japanese, and Kim Yong-ju, who initially played a role in the North Korean government before losing favor. Kim Hyung-jik and his wife were active in Christian churches, with the young future dictator also serving as a part-time Protestant missionary before later becoming an atheist. Therefore, it would be the rise of the Soviet Union, with its overtly anti-religious doctrines, that would lead the Kim dynasty, and thus North Korea, to an entirely different trajectory from the Methodist mission upbringing that the young patriarchs had grown up in. Now, Kim Il-sung's tenure in the Soviet Union during the 1930s significantly shaped his political and military ideologies. You see, his early resistance efforts had drawn the attention of Soviet officials, who sent him to the Soviet Union for advanced training, preparing him for future leadership in North Korea. Then, in the Soviet Union, Kim Il-sung received comprehensive military and political education. He served in the Soviet Red Army within the 88th Separate Rifle Brigade, composed mostly of Korean and Chinese guerrillas. And this experience was critical in shaping his military acumen and deepening his understanding of communist ideology, which later influenced his governance style. For example, the training stressed political indoctrination, organizational skills, and strategic propaganda use, which likely sounds familiar to viewers. Immersed in communist ideology, Kim adopted Marxism-Leninism principles, later adapting them into juche, or self-reliance, tailored to the Korean context. This ideology stressed national independence, economic self-sufficiency, and centralized leadership. Soon thereafter, he also became acquainted with the cult of personality, a tactic he observed from Soviet leaders like Joseph Stalin, and later emulated in North Korea to consolidate his power. Upon Japan's 1945 surrender and Korea's subsequent division along the 38th parallel, Kim returned to the Soviet-occupied North. Kim's organizational skills and ability to connect with the local populace impressed Soviet backers and were instrumental in his rapid ascent to power. Thus, with support from the Soviet Union, he rapidly ascended in political rank, eventually heading the Provisional People's Committee for North Korea in 1946. This provisional government laid the groundwork for what would become North Korea. By 1948, Kim emerged as North Korea's dominant political figure, paving the way for the Democratic People's Republic of Korea's establishment on the 9th of September, 1948. This Soviet-supported state formation paralleled the Republic of Korea's establishment in the south, following failed reunification talks between the Soviet Union and the United States. The founding of North Korea was therefore crucially influenced by Kim Il-sung's leadership, and he quickly cultivated a personality cult, positioning himself as the nation's liberator and epitome of Korean aspirations, extending this veneration to his family members, who were celebrated as revolutionary figures. His consolidation strategy also involved political purges and propaganda, with figures like Park Hon-yong from the domestic faction notably being purged and executed, and others marginalized through public denunciations and show trials. Then, the early 1950s saw the Korean War, initiated by Kim with the goal of Korean reunification under his rule, become a definitive moment that would solidify his authority. Yet, despite early successes, the conflict escalated into an international crisis, drawing in the United States, China, and the Soviet Union. With Chinese military support, Kim's regime survived, but the war concluded in a stalemate, with Korea remaining divided. Following the war, Kim leveraged the narrative of resisting imperialist forces to bolster his domestic image as a resilient leader. He advocated a heavy industry-first approach, aiming for rapid industrialization without compromising living standards. This strategy leveraged extensive support from the Soviet Union and China, along with intense population mobilization through mass campaigns. And the government further exerted control over private property and organizations, shifting to state-run production. Additionally, he intensified political purges to eliminate any remaining opposition within the military and party, asserting a centralized, authoritarian regime. During this era, the North outstripped South Korea economically, a trend that continued into the early 1970s and mirrored other communist regimes that at the time seemed poised to even overtake the capitalist West. Yet, lurking in the shadows was the reality that a successor would have to be chosen. With the North Korean communist economy thrived, Kim Il-sung meticulously cultivated a cult of personality, which emerged as a prominent feature of North Korean society. See, this cult had gained momentum after a significant purge in 1953, with his son, Kim Jong-il, later playing a key role in its development from the late 1960s. Kim Il-sung was exalted as a near-divine figure, credited with single-handedly defeating the Japanese and reconstructing North Korea post-war. And he garnered numerous titles such as Great Leader and Son, many self-bestowed, through a state-backed media and propaganda campaign that celebrated him as a revolutionary hero. This cult of personality, even more extreme than those of other communist leaders like Joseph Stalin or Mao Zedong, soon became integral to North Korean society. It was constantly reinforced by monuments, portraits, and rigorous indoctrination, with any criticism severely punished. And it not only supported the regime's control over its people, but also underscored the Juche ideology that championed Korean autonomy and justified the Kim family's dynastic governance. Then, the 1970s marked a significant phase as Kim Il-sung began grooming Kim Jong-il as his successor. This transition involved strategic placements within the Korean Workers' Party and the creation of a secondary personality cult around Kim Jong-il that mirrored his father's. By 1973, Kim Jong-il was pivotal within the KWP, overseeing organization, propaganda, and agitation, thus controlling information flow and ideological education. Efforts to ensure a smooth succession included a vigorous propaganda campaign showcasing Kim Jong-il as a potent and committed leader. His image began to populate public spaces alongside his father, and his commendations saturated state media. Consequently, the Sixth Party Congress in October 1980 was a defining moment in solidifying dynastic rule. Kim Jong-il assumed high-ranking positions within the Politburo, Military Commission, and Party Secretariat, firmly establishing him as the future leader and concluding years of meticulous preparation and power consolidation. And yet, the following decade, the 1990s, would begin to signal the end of a North Korean economy that could go toe-to-toe with the capitalist West, as the downfall of the Soviet Union would lead to a crisis within the Kim family that they had never experienced before as rulers. The 1990s marked a period of profound economic decline and famine in North Korea during the late years of Kim Il-sung's rule. For instance, the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 stripped North Korea of crucial economic support and cheap energy imports, leaving it isolated and vulnerable. And the inefficient, centrally planned economy, coupled with the loss of Soviet aid, resulted in a significant contraction in industrial output and agricultural production. North Korea's troubles were further compounded by natural disasters. Devastating floods in 1995 destroyed arable land, grain reserves and infrastructure, followed by droughts in 1996 and 1997 that further hampered food production. And the convergence of economic mismanagement, the loss of external support and natural calamities led to a catastrophic famine, with estimates suggesting that between 2 to 3 million people died from starvation and related illnesses. Furthermore, the government's response to the famine was largely inadequate and sometimes counterproductive, prioritizing military and elite needs over the general populace. With the collapse of the public distribution system, many North Koreans turned to informal markets and foraging to survive. The crisis fostered increased corruption, black market activities, and a decline in public support for the regime. Then, Kim Il-sung's death on the 8th of July 1994 came at this critical juncture. He suffered a fatal heart attack, and his death was not reported for over 34 hours as preparations for his son, Kim Jong-il's succession were made. Officially declared the Great Successor, Kim Jong-il's rise marked the start of dynastic rule in North Korea, accompanied by a 10-day mourning period and the establishment of Kim Il-sung's mausoleum at the Kumsusan Memorial Palace. Kim Jong-il's subsequent consolidation of power from 1994 to 1997 involved strategic placements within the regime, purges, and the cultivation of his own personality cult. He focused on securing control over the Korean People's Army, recognizing its crucial role in regime stability, and by appointing loyalists to key military and party positions, Kim Jong-il laid the foundation for his military first, or Songun, policy, emphasizing the military's preeminence in state affairs. Furthermore, Kim Jong-il's slow assumption of leadership titles was calculated, not becoming General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea until 1997, thereby solidifying his control over the party apparatus. This period also saw internal purges and factional struggles, notably the Kapsan faction incident, where Kim Jong-il eliminated perceived threats to his authority, consolidating his rule through intimidation and strategic appointments. Therefore, during Kim Jong-il's regime, the military-first policy took precedence, further straining the already dire economic situation. This policy, rooted in Kim Il-sung's guerrilla warfare against the Japanese, prioritized military needs over civilian ones, diverting resources to the military and exacerbating the civilian sector's plight. Kim Jong-il, North Korea's longtime leader, died from a heart attack on December 17, 2011, during a train tour, reportedly due to overwork. His death, announced by state media 2 days later, prompted widespread public grief in Pyongyang, with scenes of people visibly devastated by the loss of their dear leader, who had ruled for 17 years. The government declared a period of national mourning, featuring memorial services and extensive public displays of sorrow. Immediately following his death, Kim Jong-il's youngest son, Kim Jong Un, was quickly hailed as the great successor and the supreme leader of North Korea. Despite his youth and relative inexperience, Kim Jong-un had been prepared for leadership since his father's stroke in 2008 and was declared supreme commander of the military shortly after his father's death on the 31st of December 2011. In the ensuing months after his father's passing, Kim Jong-un consolidated his position, assuming significant party and military titles in April 2012, and he was named first Secretary of the Workers' Party, while his father was declared Eternal General Secretary. Additionally, Kim Jong-un became the first chairman of the National Defense Commission, with his father named Eternal Chairman, reinforcing his authority and the dynastic continuity. Now, over 70 years into the Kim dynasty's rule, North Korea remains under tight control through propaganda, surveillance, and intimidation. As of 2024, Kim Jong-un still leads, but signs indicate preparations for future leadership transitions. His daughter Kim Joo-ae has been increasingly visible, participating in significant events and receiving honorifics reserved for top leaders, suggesting she may be groomed for succession. South Korea's intelligence services speculate that Kim Joo-ae, around 10 years old, is being prepared for leadership. This potential transition could mark the third hereditary succession in the regime's history. Despite the patriarchal nature of the regime, Kim Jong-un's promotion of key female figures like his sister Kim Yo-jong, who could play a transitional role, indicates a possible shift. Another potential successor, Kim Pyong-il, son of North Korea's founder Kim Il-sung, returned to North Korea in 2019 after decades in Europe, fueling speculation about his role. However, his outsider status and the regime's preference for direct descendants might limit his prospects. As North Korea prepares for another generational change, the focus is on maintaining continuity and the family's dynastic rule, despite ongoing economic challenges and international isolation. And now, we'd like to see you in the comments. Do you think that there will be a united Korea in your lifetime? Why or why not? We always love hearing the thoughtful commentary from our community below, so we'll be waiting on your responses. Thanks again for joining us for another episode, and cheers. Until next time.